So let's have a look at the OneStim itself. It comes with a base console, graphical user interface, and touch controls. If you're used to using the EPS 320, you'll be familiar with the interface. They are very similar. The device comes with a patient connection box with 4 channels for pacing and recording the cardiac muscle, and an emergency pacing channel at the bottom in case of battery depletion or device failure. The device comes with a 5 or 12 lead ECG and an external power supply. Now, the battery will last with intermittent use for about 6 hours, and with continuous use, which is highly unlikely, it will last about 2 hours. So, how do we connect the device to a patient? Well, if you're in coronary care, the patient may have a temporary pacing wire connected through the subclavian vein, and you can connect that wire directly into the patient connection box. If you're in a post-surgical ward, the patient may have hard wires left in by the surgeon in the atrium and ventricle, and you will need this adapter here to connect it into the patient connection box. If you're using the transesophageal method, you'll need a transesophageal wire like this one, and that will connect directly into the patient connection box using these connectors here. So, how do you use the OneStim? Well, if we have a look at the interface, we have channels up the top for pacing the heart, and we have 12 lead ECG channels, surface ECG channels at the bottom. Up here, you can click on this button, and that means you can configure your pages. You can choose what traces you want visualized, their gain and their color, and then you can save each page under a specific name. Also, when you have moved your traces around, you can press this button here, and that will spread them all out evenly. Next to that is this buffer bar, and that will show you where you are up to in your 90 seconds of recording, and you can reset that at any time just by clicking it. So let's say we want to pace a patient. To do that, we select the pace protocol, and then we choose what interval we would like to pace at. Here we have 800 milliseconds. Next, you choose which channel you would like to pace through. We're going to choose channel 1 because we have some LEDs clicked into there. Next, you choose what current you would like to pace at. You can use the arrows to change that. Usually you will only need about 2 to 3 milliamps to pace the heart. And then you simply press pace. Now let's say you would like to overdrive a patient in tachycardia. To do that, you go to the burst protocol, and then you will select your S1 interval, which will have to be a little bit faster than the tachycardia. So let's say we want to pace at 330 milliseconds. Then you simply press pace, hold it down until you gain capture of the heart, and then when you stop pacing, hopefully you'll have reverted the patient to sinus rhythm. You can also toggle pacing on and toggle pacing off if you prefer. So let's look at the OneStim in more detail. You may want to synchronize the stimulator to the patient's rhythm. You can do this by looking at this left upper panel, ECG Sync. The first parameter shows you which channel you are sensing from. You can click on it and it will bring down a drop-down menu, and you can choose which channel you would like to sense from. Over here, the channel that is being sensed from is indicated with an S. Up the top here, the yellow markers indicate QRS detection. If you are oversensing or undersensing and need to change your QRS, you can focus this parameter and use the up and down arrows to increase or decrease the value. You can also click on the QRS menu, and this will give you a visual indication of QRS detection. This green line is the threshold, which you can move up and down, and you can also move it up and down using the arrow keys. Once you have reliable QRS detection, you can control the synchronization of the stimulator using this mode button here. Now, usually you would be happy to have it on asynchronous, as normally you'd be happy to start pacing asynchronously and overdrive the heart at our will. If you would like to synchronize your first extra stimulus with the patient's heart, then you can choose first S1, and then when you start pacing, the stimulator will first sense the next QRS and then deliver the first extra stimulus. Now, after the first stimulus, stimulation is then asynchronous. As you are trying to take control of the heart, you do not want inhibited pacing. You can also use inhibited pacing mode if you like. You can choose that from the drop-down menu, and this will just bring up a warning message saying pacing may be inhibited by electrical interference.